Hello, my name is Lee. You might know me as Friend Within. I'm here to break down my track called Chain, but it's not going to be an exhaustive, like, ooh, let's look at every single, ooh, look at the EQ in this, look at this amazing plugin I've got to make this sound all saturated and analog. Oh, I don't really do that kind of thing. I'm more like, pick the right sound, put it in the right place. You know, if it's not working, if it's clashing with other things, just get rid of it, pick something else or put it somewhere else. That's how I kind of make tunes, and you'll hopefully see that throughout this little rundown. So yeah, got Ableton Live open here. I'll come back and have a little word with you in between. If I've got anything important to say, let's have a look. So here's the original sample. It's called Ball and Chain by the Tibbs. Let's have a listen.
And if I were to ask you to come closer, would you dare? It's our ball and chain.
So I put that sample into Serato sample, dragged it in, and you can get the stems off it. You've got like drums, melodic, the vocal, and bass line. The original tempo was 98 BPM, but this brings it up to the tempo of the track, which is 130. And the time stretching algorithm is brilliant on this. So then I made 4 individual Serato samples, rendered it out to the 4 individual stems, so I could bring them into the main project. So when I heard this original tune from the Tibbs, I already thought, right, I can really do something with that. I'll take the vocal, few of the melodic elements, that'll be my breakdown, do the build up, and then that'll go into like a tech house rhythm. I wanted to keep the sort of 2 parts pretty separate. I know there's some little touches in between in the drops, like little vocal snippets, but mainly I thought that'd be quite an interesting thing to do. It's quite a very quirky vocal. It's not your sort of typical, you know, house music vocal kind of thing. And rather than maybe looping like one element, like you might a disco record, you know, filter it and that is your song, just bringing that sort of in and out. I wanted to keep the sample almost in its own little pocket and then go into like more of a familiar tech house sound. So the idea immediately came from hearing that original song. It was already in my head, just a case of putting it down on paper, on the computer paper. Okay, so here we are in the main project. We've got drums up here, this is where the sample happens, some other bits down here, bass line. Let's have a look at the sample first. This is where the melodic part of the sample comes in. This is where the stem separation is great. So it slowly sort of filters in. See the filter opening up. It's just a nicer transition to bring elements into a tune. The vocals coming in at this point.
2 sides to every story.
Little bits of bass.
Depends on the lightfall and the shadow that it casts.
And if we listen to everything,
depends on my warning. Depends on the words you used to ask.
Let's have a look at what I'm doing on each of these stems. On the vocal, got a bit of pitch correction and then compressing it. This compressor's really great. This is the total control setting. It's really good. Pro C, Fab Filter. Can't go wrong with Fab Filter. Bit of an echo on there that I think I bring in at times. I know that's just sitting on the whole thing. Pretty subtle, I think. Another filter here, which I've obviously got turned off. Didn't want to use it in the end. This track here is just little vocal chops to come in throughout the track. Add to the groove of the whole thing. This one's the melodic part of the sample. Got a little bit of RC20 on this one. Add a little bit more wobble and just a little bit of like vinyl noise on there. Let's give it a bit more flavour. So here I wanted to make the sample sound like it was older and dustier and actually came from a record. You know, the original tune, it's only a few years old, I think, and I downloaded a WAV file, so that's all nice and clean. I thought make it sound a bit more gritty, have a bit more character to it, and then going into the nice clean sort of tech house element, there'll be a nice sort of contrast there, a nice dichotomy. Look that word up. OTT on it, squashing it a bit, just to kind of bring out a lot of the top end. I feel like OTT brings out some nice top end. We've seen the filter. On the bass, look, there's nothing on the bass. It's quite surprising, really. On the whole group of these samples, I've got a transit, which is a really cool like plugin for doing sort of build-ups and transitions. So that comes in, if we turn on the automation, we can see that the transit slowly builds up, coming to the drop here. Let's have a little listen.
And if I were to ask you to come closer, would you?
Transit getting a bit more intense.
It's our ball and chain.
Let's have a look at the drums, shall we? This is the first track of drums. I like to use XO to pick all my drums. So you should see there that I've got those 8 drum sounds coming out of one plugin. I'm shaping the sounds a little bit with the tone control and the filter, but they're not all going off to like separate outputs with compressors on every single one and, you know, massive EQs going on. I've just picked the right sounds, put them in the right place, and XO is actually really good for that. It sorts out all your drum sounds and you can flick through them really easily, so that's the way to do it. The next track is another XO, just little percussion bits. I've got these LFOs just changing some of the settings for the two little drum bits that play. It's kind of subtle, but yeah, just little ear candy stuff. Next track looks like a loop, kind of fills out the whole drum groove. There's a little LFO changing just the volume of it, only slightly. Next track, it's called Clap Attack. It's just a tiny bit I put in before the main clap sort of hit. And the percussion doesn't happen often. Let's listen to the whole thing. And this track is just the drum stem from the original sample that comes in every now and again. What have we got next? Track 16 down here, ARP synth. Just little bits to fill out the tune. They don't happen that often, but I like to have little things that don't happen that often. Zap. Self-explanatory there. Next one, YCX synth. I mean, all these bits, these are just samples I got off Loop Cloud, I think. But then only using little sections of them. And we go on to the bass, and this actually is a whole sample off Loop Cloud. Yeah, I used all of it, pitched it up one semitone, so no apologies there. And what am I doing to the bass? Got this plugin called Ambassador. It basically creates extra sub-frequencies from whatever you play into it. It might be quite hard to hear it exactly, and I've only got it on 11%. And we got an EQ, just bumped up the mids a little bit. We've also got a little touch of reverb on it, tiny bit, like 4.8%. Sometimes a little bit of reverb on bass, you know, you can get away with that. Next up, this is what I use again for side chaining. What I do, I have, so these are actually the low frequencies. These will be getting side chained more than the high ones, because you still want the sort of the higher frequencies of the bass to come through, but the bottom end, you really want to get rid of that when the kick hits. So I do remember with this bass line is that I changed it quite late into the making of this tune. Now I can be quite slow at making tunes, and I had a bass line that I wrote. It wasn't just a sample, I can write bass lines sometimes. And it was in the tune for ages, I mean, you know, days and weeks. And then I just thought, I've heard the song so often, I felt like something had to change in the tune just to get me excited again about it. You know, there's not a million elements in this tune. You know, when it kicks in, you've got a beat and a bass line and some little vocal snippets. They couldn't really go because they're part of the original sample. I was quite happy with the drums, so I thought let's try some other bass lines. So yeah, there's something to be said about trying to make tunes quick, and then, you know, the first time you make a bass line, you think, yeah, that's the one. Try and keep that in your head that, like, yeah, this is good. I mean, we can all be guilty of, you know, starting new tunes and not finishing ones that you're working on because you just lose the excitement for it. So there is a balance there, keeping the excitement going and also pushing through when you feel like it is getting boring, because remember, you've heard it 1,000 times. But no one else has. So yeah, always bear that in mind. But sadly, the bass line had to go, but I think this one is better. The next track was Loop Cloud. Yeah, love that. I love the way it integrates with Ableton as well. Really worth trying. And I've got this FX track. So some of the tracks in the tune will go into this track, and then it's just this DJ style filter. High pass that way, low pass this way. So let's look at the last main channel. Everything goes into this. This is where I master my tunes. Yes, I do it all myself. Start with a bit of Volcano 3. Fab filter, got a tiny little boost, basically an EQ sort of saturator type thing. Next up we got Pro Q3, which is doing quite a lot in the sort of mid-range there, and a tiny little dynamic cut there. Can't remember why I did that, but it must have sounded good at the time. Next we've got Saturn 2, which is on the subtle tape setting, 15-16%. And we have a little utility, which is just boosting the signal going into Ozone 9, where I have a multi-band compressor. Again, not doing loads. An imager to just make the very low end mono. The very top end's a tiny bit wider. Maximizer. I love this limiter. Mainly hovers below -2 dB-ish. Then we've got this Oxford inflator. Oh, I love this thing. Not quite sure what it does, but it just makes things louder. So that's all you want. Then we've got Pro L2. This will be compressing by about -2 as well. So yeah, that's 2 compressors doing -2 dB each. Don't hate me for having 2 limiters, because I've actually got 3 limiters. This is doing an absolutely tiny amount, and I've got the dither on. Does anyone really know what dither does? No. So mastering's a bit of a funny one, I think. I'll master like 99% of the tunes of mine that have come out, but I think I'm quite good at mastering like my own tunes. I have mastered tunes for other people, but the reason I like doing it myself is that I'll master it inside the Ableton project. So I've got my mix that I can go back and change if there's anything wrong with the mastering process. And I think you've got to get the mix right first. You won't fix anything in the master, you know, whatever you think, oh, I'm going to get this mastered and it'll be on a record and it'll sound amazing. That ain't going to happen. You know, get the mix right. That's why I like doing it in the same project. You know, if there's a problem, kick drum's too loud, it's like, we'll just go and turn it down in the mix. That's why I think I can master my own tunes, because I've got all them stems. And that's the way to live, I think. Get the mix right first, and then the mastering should be easy. Stick 3 limiters on it and you're done. Lastly, I've got this Insight thing, which just gives you readouts and sort of loudness levels. I don't really have a number that I try and hit. I just like to know what I am hitting. And that's it for the master on there. Let me show you this as well. I really love this thing, Sonar Works. This is like room correction software. You have a microphone and it calculates sort of the EQ curve of your room, and then basically does the opposite to make things sound a lot flatter. And I absolutely swear by this thing. I couldn't work without it, I think. Look at this. I've got like an 8 dB bump at like 200 hertz in my room. Crazy. So I think you'll probably see like throughout the track, there's not a million elements. Yeah, there's a few sort of drum things going on. I don't do like loads and loads of processing on things. I mean, this is just a bit of this EQ's not even doing anything. Why is that there? No, I'm not doing loads on the drums. Just kind of pick good sounds. That's what I sort of swear by, and you know, put them in the right place. Using samples is all right as well. Basically, this whole track is samples. I don't think I've even written any kind of notes. There's no MIDI in this. I've not actually written any music. I've just taken other things and put them together. Oh well, Toolroom signed it, so it must be all right. Cheers. So there we go. That's it. The breakdown of Chain by me, Friend Within. It's out now on Toolroom Records. Maybe think about subscribing, liking this video. Might do a few more of them. Cheers. Bye. In this area,